Two Ukrainian missiles scream off a launch truck outside Odessa on April 13, 2022, and instantly drop to wave height south toward the most valuable warship in the Black Sea. 120 kilometers away, the cruiser Moskva, flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, has no idea what's coming. Her crew relaxes, her radars barely functioning. The whole ship counting on a blanket of low clouds to keep her hidden. They have about 10 minutes left to believe that. The boosters burn out and tumble away. Underneath, the turbofans scream to life and push the missiles forward. But this isn't the only asset Ukraine has in the air right now. 20 minutes before the launch truck ever rolled into position, Ukraine had already sent a second asset high over the Black Sea. And it wasn't sent there to sink anything. Back on the dunes outside Odessa, the battery is already prepping to move. Painting a Russian flagship with radar isn't something you do twice from the same location. Every minute the launchers stay here is a minute the Russian fleet can use to triangulate their position and respond with missiles of their own. And the Black Sea Fleet has plenty to spare. So while the Neptunes climb away, the operators are already breaking down their position, ready to move the second the missiles launch. Packed and moving before they ever learn if it worked. But the Ukrainians remain hopeful, because this shouldn't even be possible. If you look at where that contact sits, you'll see why it shouldn't exist. 120 kilometers out, 7 times beyond the little coastal radar that spotted her. That's like shouting from New York to Philadelphia, with the curve of the planet in between. Past about 18 kilometers, the Earth curves away, and a ship sinks below the beam. By every rule the operator who found her was ever taught, that target cannot be on his screen. So how did it get there? The answer is the weather itself. Warm, dry air has slid over the cool, damp air on the sea. That boundary warps the radar beam, bending it down, pinning it to the sea surface, carrying it past the horizon. Think of shouting across a lake on a still, foggy morning and hearing your buddy answer from the far shore, a distance your voice has no business carrying. Same trick, far bigger scale. And honestly, that's quite remarkable. For one freak afternoon, a short-range coastal radar can see 120 kilometers out, and the most valuable target in the war is sitting right in the middle of it. That window doesn't stay open. One shift in the wind and the bending stops, and the Moskva drops back under the horizon for good. So the moment the picture becomes clear, the order goes out. No debate, no second guessing. These 2 missiles are Ukraine's best shot at the flagship, and might be the only one they ever get. They fire on the spot. Those 2 streaks are R-360 Neptunes, Ukraine's home-built ship hunters. Built from the remains of an old Soviet missile, the West nicknamed the Harpoonsky. Each one weighs about 870 kilograms. Call it a loaded small car. Behind the nose cone sit a 150-kilo warhead and a radar seeker. It runs 900 kilometers per hour, close enough to the speed of sound that the Moskva's crew will never hear it coming. And it has the range to reach the target nearly 300 kilometers out, roughly Dallas to Austin, with a few kilometers to spare. The Neptune is Russia's own handiwork. A Soviet missile designed, copied, and rebuilt in a Ukrainian workshop, now pointed back the way it came. The whole idea is patience. Fly the crossing on internal guidance, radiate nothing, and trust that no one can shoot a missile they can't even see. It rides 30 meters off the water, then drops to 3 meters for the run-in, belly almost dragging through the spray. Slow, quiet, stubborn, built to do one thing: get close before anyone knows it's there. Think of a porch pirate crouching under your doorbell camera. He doesn't outrun the system. He just stays low enough that it never sees him. The one weakness is speed. Subsonic means the better part of 10 minutes in the open, and a faster missile would just outrun the danger. The Neptune can't. That's why it flies as low as it dares, tucked into the chop, under the water's radar horizon until the very last second. The whole survival rides on one bet. 10 long minutes. The most defended ship afloat must never once look down. And here's the part that defies physics. The Neptune was built to sink ships up to 5,000 tons. The Moskva weighs 12,500. On paper, this is a featherweight, walking up to a heavyweight 2.5 times his size and throwing the first punch. That heavyweight is the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, built for one job above all: throwing an umbrella of air defense over a whole battle group. 16 big Vulcan anti-ship missiles ride in launchers along her deck, each built to threaten an American carrier from hundreds of kilometers out. 4 decades of the best air defense the Soviets and then Russians could build are stacked around her, layer upon layer, all of it pointed at the sky. That's the problem. The ship is designed to see everything coming and shoot down whatever it doesn't like long before it gets close. Out where she sits, her crew has never felt safer. The low cloud is a blanket. Nothing up there can see through it. Not a single satellite, drone, or jet. They ride well beyond any shore radar Ukraine is supposed to have. And by every calculation their officers can run, the flagship isn't visible. Sneaking 2 slow missiles up to her is like walking up to a guard dog the size of a bus and flicking it on the nose. Back on the coast, all the Ukrainians can do is wait. The battery has no way to watch the missiles fly, spot the ship, or confirm a hit through that wall of cloud. In 10 minutes, they either will have sunk the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, or they will have thrown away the 2 most important missiles in their entire inventory on an empty patch of sea. Out on the water, the Neptunes have been flying alone for 2 minutes now, cruising under a gray lid of cloud. Autopilot's fighting a northerly that wants to shove them into the swell. The seekers stay cold and dark. There's no link back to the battery, and the cloud has shut out any satellite that might pick them up. Just a stack of accelerometers and gyros counting heartbeats since launch, integrating speed into distance, distance into position, and trusting the answer. Behind, the battery is gone from the picture. Ahead, the Moskva is still certain she is alone. For 6 more minutes, there's just wind, salt, and 2 missiles, holding a heading and counting on numbers. Then the numbers carry them into someone else's range. The missiles cross 90 kilometers deep inside the reach of the Moskva's outermost wall. This is where the gauntlet starts. 5 separate defenses stand between the Neptunes and the hull. Every one of them can end the run on its own, and the missiles have to slip past all 5. The first wall is the one the crew trusts most. High on the mast turns the MR-800, the long-range air search radar, sweeping a full circle of sky out past 200 kilometers. It's wide awake and working perfectly, and it never reports a thing. Here is why, and it's not negligence. The MR-800 was built to find aircraft, things up in the open sky, where a target stands clean against empty radar. A Neptune missile 3 meters off the water is a different animal entirely. Down there, the beam is fighting the sea itself, every wave throwing back its own clutter. The missile, the size of a kayak, vanishes into that mess like a black cat at midnight. The radar is staring straight at the Neptunes and reading them as ocean. That's the first small miracle. Not a switch left off, but the radar, looking at the wrong kind of target and seeing nothing wrong. The most expensive naval radar in the Black Sea Fleet just mistook 2 guided missiles for choppy water. No one aboard will ever know how close they came to catching them. Past the search radar, the Neptunes run into the wall that should finish them. If anything aboard the Moskva can swat them down at range, it's the S-300F, the cruiser's long-range air defense system. 64 missiles wait in launchers below deck. It's the reason any pilot gives the ship a wide berth. That dome amidships, the one NATO calls Top Dome, is the radar that aims all of it. It tracks the target and steers the missiles onto it. And without that dome looking the right way, all 64 rounds below deck stay asleep. The whole system can only shoot where this one radar is pointed. And that dome has a flaw the Ukrainians are about to exploit. It doesn't see all the way around. The dome covers a half circle at a time, about 180 degrees. To guard the other half, the ship herself has to swing, or the radar has to slew across. Whatever it's locked onto right now owns its full attention, and its back is turned to everything behind it. So where is it looking now? Up. At this drone, Ukraine launched 90 minutes before the Neptunes ever left the truck. That is a Ukrainian Bayraktar TB2, a Turkish-built surveillance drone that's been turning Russian columns into scrap since day one of the war. This one was never sent to fire anything. Its mission was to arrive early, climb to altitude, and orbit exactly where the Moskva's crew could ignore it. Ukraine's planners understood one thing the Moskva's officers didn't. A warship's fire control radar can only watch half the sky at once. They needed it pointed at something disposable, and it worked perfectly. This crew does exactly what training says. They put their best eye on the threat above, and they track it. Not because they made a mistake, because they made the right call against the wrong target. The Moskva is alert, and that's exactly what Ukraine wants. With the fire control radar fixed on the drone above, its blind half-circle hangs over the open water to the south, the exact water the Neptunes are crossing. There is still a second problem, and it's built into the physics. The S-300F interceptors need altitude to work. By the manufacturer's own number, they can't engage much below 25 meters. A missile coming off a vertical launch needs room to tip over and accelerate. The Neptunes are skimming at 3. Even with a perfect track, the cruiser's finest missile couldn't reach anything flying lower than an 8-story building, and the Neptunes were crossing at the height of a basketball hoop. The one system most likely to end this can neither see them, nor, if it did, stoop low enough to touch them. 2 ways this wall should have held. Both fail in the same handful of seconds. The Neptunes cross under the turned eye and keep coming. At around 25 kilometers, the missiles climb over the ship's radar horizon at last. 90 seconds to impact. 3 walls down and 2 of the closest-in defenses left. The ones designed for exactly this moment. The low and fast leaker that beat everything else. On the forecastle, the launcher that should be rising out of its well stays flat and folded. The launcher belongs to the OSA-M, a short-range system the Soviets fielded decades ago with a single purpose: swat low subsonic anti-ship missiles out of the air before they reach the hull. Speed, altitude, target. The Neptune is precisely what it was made to stop, and it's the only wall here that genuinely had a clean shot. So the next part is the cruelest luck of the day. The OSA-M is broken, not stowed, not asleep, broken. Its tracking antenna would not lock. Its scope was painting a phantom target where none existed, a ghost signal that would have buried a real one in noise. And the single weapon aboard, built to stop a sea skimmer, picked this afternoon to fail its own diagnostics. The system that could have saved her stares at a hallucination while the real thing closes in. The range falls through 15 kilometers, then 12. 60 seconds. The missiles bore in flat. Nothing aboard the cruiser stirs. 10 kilometers, 8. At 5, they reach knife range and the very last wall. If you look here at the 6-barreled cannons tucked along her sides, those are the AK-630 Close-In Weapon Systems, CIWS. Each one is a 30mm Gatling wired to its own little radar, throwing 5,000 rounds a minute. A fire hose made of metal, the thing that's supposed to shred a missile in the final 2 seconds when every other layer has failed. And here's the thing people get wrong about the AK-630. The Moskva does not carry one of these guns. She carries 6, spaced around the hull so that no matter where a missile comes from, at least one of them can take a shot at it. 6 fire hoses, any single one of which can shred a Neptune in the final seconds. The odds of a sea skimmer beating all 6 are supposed to be vanishingly small. That's the entire point of stacking them. So why does every last one stay silent? Because a CIWS gun does not hunt on its own. Each one is slave to a little fire control radar that has to be handed the target first, told where to look, where to aim, when to open up. The gun is just the trigger finger. The radar is the eyes. On this afternoon, not one of those 6 sets of eyes ever got a track to work with, because nothing further out in the chain caught the missiles to pass down. 6 guns, all healthy enough to fire, all pointed at empty sky, because no one told them where the threat was. It gets worse. Recovered inspection logs found the nearest mount in even rougher shape than the rest. Its control unit out cold, no power to it at all, and a barrel worn so far past its limit it was due for replacement. That single gun, best placed to catch the Neptunes, would not have even fired with the target handed to it on a plate. The other 5 never got the chance. There was one more threat that should have saved her, and it is the quietest miracle of all. The most vigilant electronic ears, listening gear that catches a hostile radar the instant it transmits. When a Neptune seeker's switch is on, those ears should scream. The books say the warning buys a crew up to 2 minutes to do something, anything. 2 minutes is a lifetime down here. They never get it. At the very last moment, the nose of each Neptune lights up. What just switched on is the missile's own active radar seeker, a small dish behind the nose cone that shouts into the darkness and listens for the echo. It blasted the ship with radar energy and rode the reflection straight home. It stayed dark the entire crossing for exactly this reason, so the warning would come too late to matter. By the time the ears hear it, the seeker's already locked, and the missile is seconds out. The burglar's flashlight clicking on after he's already standing at the foot of the bed. Inside the Combat Information Center, the contacts finally bloom on the scopes. 2 of them, close and fast, skimming the waves. A watch officer's gut goes cold. The same drop you feel hearing your wife use your first, middle, and last name from the bottom of the stairs. He understands in an instant what the 2 returns are and exactly how late they are. Both Neptunes hit square amidships, just above the waterline, within a heartbeat of each other. Each warhead punches through the steel and detonates deep inside her. A white flash. Overpressure hammers through the passageways. At the waterline, a ragged hole torn open where there was never supposed to be one. Amidships is the cruelest place to take a hit. It's where she keeps her engines and her electrical heart. And the sea is already pouring in. A cruiser that spent all afternoon certain she was invisible is now fighting for her life. And by every rule of naval warfare, she should win that fight. A ship this size is not supposed to go down to a pair of missiles. 2 warheads carrying 150 kilos each simply don't add up to 12,500 tons on the bottom. On paper, the Moskva survives this, limps home, and gets patched. However, the missiles only had to start a fire. A warship is the worst place on Earth to start one, because it is a magazine wrapped in steel. And a match doesn't burn the house down, it finds the gas line. The fire reaches the very thing the ship was built around. Those 16 Vulcan missiles and the air defense rounds stacked below deck, everyone packed with propellant. They begin to cook off. Now the Moskva is no longer fighting 2 missiles. She's fighting her own arsenal and a crew that couldn't get ahead of it. The power fails. The pumps quit, and a ship that can't pump cannot fight a fire or hold back the sea. Her crew fights her hard, dragging hoses to her compartments hot enough to blister the paint underfoot. But the blaze keeps jumping ahead of them, fed by everything a warship carries. Secondary blasts tear through the hull. The list grows steeper by the hour. Eventually, there's no saving her, and the order goes out to abandon ship. A tow line goes across to drag the burning hull back toward port. One last try to bring the flagship home in any condition at all. By now, the weather has turned rough and openly hostile. The sea has other ideas as she sinks beneath the waves. Personally, I think this deserves more attention than it often receives. She was the largest warship sent to the bottom in combat since the Falklands. The first Russian flagship lost in battle since the Japanese broke the Tsar's fleet at Tsushima in 1905. From the map the Kremlin didn't want to, 2 missiles worth maybe $1 million apiece had just put a warship valued at the better part of $1 billion on the seabed. Somewhere in Moscow, an admiral is working out how not to fall out of a window. Moscow called it an accident for almost 4 years, a stray fire on a careless night, her own ammunition cooking off in heavy seas. Then, in January 2026, a Moscow court finally admitted what Kiev said on day 1. 2 missiles did this. The fleet had been holding well back from the Ukrainian coast ever since, but all of that came later, years after the storm finished what the missiles started. Hey, if you want to watch a Ukrainian drone catch an entire Russian sabotage team in the act, that one is next. Bye for now.